Thanks, Edwin, for that. Good evening and welcome to this new webinar organized by Biomimicry Switzerland. My name is Michaela Emsch, and on behalf of our association, I'm happy to welcome you all. This is the fourth part of our 5 dives into practical applications of biomimicry in different fields. At the beginning of the year, we had urban design, solutions for the seaweed industry, social innovation and successful partnerships. Today, we're all about lasers, and Sylvia, who is here, will be our next speaker in the month of May, and she'll talk about corporate leadership design and implementation inspired by organisms from the African savanna. So diversity and interdisciplinarity are the master concepts behind this webinar series. And we hope we have caught your attention and awakened your curiosity. Maybe even inspired you to make biomimicry and its applications part of your life. Tonight, we welcome Edwin Kroon. Kroon is right? Right pronunciation?
Kroon.
Kroon, sorry. Our Dutch laser specialist and the video editor of Now. His take on science and knowledge is always refreshing, and we should have a very, very entertaining presentation. So before I pass it on to him, just a few housekeeping rules. So yeah, please stay on mute if you're not speaking to avoid any interference. Edwin is very happy to take your questions all along the way, very informal. Please interject, raise your hand. If you're a bit shy and you prefer to go through the chat, Vinisha, hiding behind this logo of Biomimicry Switzerland, will take your questions and present them to us in a timely fashion. Otherwise, this session is recorded. If you have not seen the previous recordings of this series, they're available on the Biomimicry Switzerland website. Maybe Vinisha, you can put the address to those into the chat. And you're more than welcome to rewatch this once it is online as of one of the next few days. So without further ado, I pass it on to Edwin, and I'm very excited to see how lasers can light the way. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that warm introduction. One note from my side, I can't view the chat while I'm presenting, so you need to interrupt me actually, and then I'll alt tab towards that, and then I can see the question. Yeah, I've been asked to give a presentation for biomimicry. I'm working for Line Lasers, and I thought this is a nice catchy, well, title of this webinar. Lasers, of course, work by light and light energy, and they light the way. And I'm well, it's the first tool I had to create nanostructures, and well, it's not out there in the store, so that's why I'm chasing them. I haven't had definitive proof of definitive actual application that I can show you, but it's chasing and trying to find my my questions and my answers to my questions. I can't click with the laser dot. Apologies. A small introduction. This is the agenda. I would like to start with the goal for this webinar, what I want to achieve, why I'm doing this, with which thoughts in mind. Because nanostructures is kind of difficult. It's really small, billionth of a meter, and it's almost for most people beyond comprehensible. So I thought, let's do a sort of interaction. I'll tap to the chat then, and feel free to abuse it. We're diving from macro, what we can see, to micro, for what you need a microscope, towards nano, so you can get a grasp of the sizes that I'm working with. After that, we'll finally dive into some fun experiments I had with lasers, and some future dreams and some things I would really love to chase one day, or to recreate, because the implications of that are, well, insane. And well, point 6 has to do with point 2, my goals for this webinar. Learning from other people's mistakes, other people doing a lot of work, doing a lot of experiments, and from the outside, from an outside view, of outside perspective, it's often, well, the answer can be quite clear or quite, well, as we say in Dutch, voor de hand liggend. Not sure what the English word is, but anyway. As said, a small introduction. My name is Edwin Kroon, Kroon in Dutch. Yeah, can be quite difficult to pronounce. I just turned 37 last Sunday. I'm Dutch. I'll have a slight accent, but I'll try to be fine with it. I studied animal sciences, and over there, that's where my first curiosity for biomimicry got sparked, although I didn't know it was called biomimicry back then. Because during college I had a girlfriend with really long hair, and I learned that hairs and also feathers are made from the same building material, keratin, the protein. And it wondered that when she took a shower and she didn't dry it, the hair would remain wet for days on end almost, while I saw birds out there just taking a dive, fiddling around in a pond, and then just, well, you see the droplets rolling off. So I was also amazed. Why is that? And how? Because it's the same building material. And, well, after a couple of beers, you start theorizing about it. And, well, if it's not in the building material, it should be somewhere else, perhaps the surface structure. And I learned to use the microscope, and I saw a lot of bumps and ridges, and a lot different bumps and ridges from hairs than there were on feathers. So I thought, how cool would it be if I could copy paste that feather onto stainless steel? Let's say my stainless steel shower drain, because it was always clogged up with the long hairs from, yes, you guessed it. But, well, I took a second look through the microscope and also to my tools box, and there was no way that I could recreate those microstructures. And the whole question has been nagging at the back of my head, until I met the owner of Lion Lasers, and he invited me to come over and play with lasers. And he showed me that he could turn a piece of aluminium from standard gray into bright white, and with a different laser setting into pitch black, without changing anything besides the laser setting. And I thought, well, that's remarkable. How? Why? What can explain what I'm seeing? And the only thing I come up with was the physics, absorption, reflection of light. So I grabbed a piece of aluminium, went towards a microscope, and saw kind of bumps and ridges that resembled the hairs and the feathers. And I thought, this is my tool, this is my hammer. I want to work for this company, and finally I can recreate those structures. You can see I'm really enthusiastic about lasers, so hence the laser enthusiast. I'm spending a lot of time with those machines, so I don't have a lot of time for social media. I'm only active on LinkedIn, so feel free to add me. Or if you're not on LinkedIn and you're just on Facebook or whatever, just drop me an email. Everybody has an email these days. So my goal for this webinar, which thought did I start to do this, because I think biomimicry is in essence getting inspired by nature. And let's start with asking the right questions, and my questions are different than yours, and therefore my answers will be different. So I thought, instead of giving you a couple of questions and answers, I'll try to hand out the tools for you to ask the right questions, and not only to look outside, but also to see, and not only to hear, but also to listen, to be a bit more conscious. So what I want to do is I want to inspire you. I want you to look out the window and just be amazed by how grass grows, how ants walk, why birds fly the way they do, because we can learn so much from it. And as said, look and consciously observe and ask. And if you don't know the answer, try to look it up. And if you can't find it, just keep it in the back of your head, and one day you'll find your answer, as I have with lasers. It took me a decade. What I don't want to do for this time is, as I said, give the answers, give a lecture, do one-way communication. And yeah, the last one is, of course, contradictory. Do what I tell you to do. So try to find your own answers and ask your own questions. To shortcut the one-way communication, I'll try with a bit of the quiz, the nano, micro, and macro. And I'm always using this slide or sheet picture to show you, well, kind of gives you a glimpse of which sizes there are. The macro, as said, we can see it with the naked eye. Eggs, chicken eggs, human eggs, even frog eggs. Human eggs, not really. Frog eggs is kind of the outer edge of the macro. For the human eggs, the animal cells and the plant cells, we need to go to the micro. And of course, for that you need the microscope. You see mitochondria is a part of an animal cell. And if you look real close, you see a couple of those mitochondria over there in those animal cells. Going even smaller into the range of nano, you've got the flu virus. Now, after the past 2 years, I don't think I have to say anything about that little bugger. And even further and smaller you get to the atom level. So, first quiz question, and I'll tap for this. Here are 5 examples of things, nature, which has inspired humans to do something differently, or should inspire humans to do them, let them do things differently. And I use the word game to use bio, me, macro. But yeah, feel free to answer in the chat which animal has inspired for what. And see who guessed it right. And I'll take a sip of coffee and have a small break.
So do I get
Yeah.
it right?
All right, that is the first right answer.
For each, we should find what it inspired, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
There are 5 animals and 5 examples, and I already saw one coming in. It's the blue bird. Officially, it's called the kingfisher. And yes, it is the bullet train. The bullet train had a bit of a trouble with exiting tunnels. It made a sonic boom, kind of. And the beak of the kingfisher has inspired the beak of the train. And now it goes much smoother through the air, and in fact it drives more efficient. Ants, traffic plants. Oh, look, we've got some experts right here. Yep, ants do end up in traffic jams, strangely as it may sound. But ants tackle that problem a bit different than we humans do. We humans try to slow down, and ants in fact speed up. So I don't recommend speeding up and driving over 100 miles an hour or 140 kilometers an hour when you see a traffic jam ahead. But ants get out of the traffic jam, and the traffic jam is gone, and we're stuck in it every now and then for hours on end. I see another one. Termites. All right. Yep. This is one of the famous hotels. The termites have a very ingenious way of controlling the inside environment. Basically, it's a free air conditioning, heating up at night a bit, but especially cooling during the day. Fun fact, I learned from the first biomimicry presentation that there is a fundamental flaw in the design of this hotel. And so still somehow it kind of works, and they don't know how. So kind of cool. Even imperfect solution can be, can solve at least a bit of a problem. All right, you're guessing it all. The bird flux is a fighter jet. Yep. Birds do fly in the V shape because it's more efficient. They fly in the vortexes of the ones in front. And for commercial planes, it's not really viable to fly this close to each other. But for fighter planes, every liter of fuel saved is a liter of fuel that you can spend in air combat. So yeah, they try to save as much as possible while remaining visibility. And I also saw the boxfish. Yep, it's a car. I call it the Mercedes fish. it's, yeah, I hope there are no Germans in this audience, but Germans are great in engineering things to perfection, but they look hideous. But they work always. And this car has an efficiency that hasn't been reached, I believe, for 15 years on end, but there's a reason you don't see it out there. It's ugly. So yes, you guessed it all. That was the BioMe macro. And there are the questions and the answers again. So diving over to micro, let's see if you can keep full score. I've got 3 examples. One on the left, 2 pictures, but count them as 1. I've got the shark and I've got, well, some sort of foot in the... Yep, all right, first one, you're on fire. The need to scroll down. The Velcro, yep. And fun fact, Michaela has met the inventor of Velcro a few years in the past. But anyway, yeah, this little plant inspired to well, produce and invent or reinvent or commercialize a plant's invention, Velcro. I see the gecko for glue. Well, yeah, I'll count that as correct. It's not out there really, I believe, commercially. They're trying something with running shoes, but the most famous example I could find was from the movies, where Mr. Cruise is climbing up the Burj Khalifa. I believe it's Mission Impossible, and it, yeah, kind of is still impossible. I saw the shark skin for the antibiotics. Not really. There's a bit of a bigger, structure in it. It's the shark skin suit, the swimming suit. It's even forbidden nowadays, I've been told, by they call it technological doping. But yeah, it's supposed to improve the hydrodynamic flow around the suit, and therefore allows the swimmer to swim faster. I'm not sure, because a human doesn't really look like a shark, and I'm not sure if it works actually, but oh well. Good examples, no? So from macro to micro, and now we're going over to nano. 3 examples. 2 of them are kind of in the near future, or one is in the near future, one is more of an inspiration, and the other one is already applicable. But you probably recognize the bird and the fish again. Reducing drag. Aaron, you're on fire. Yep, the fish, I already said it, the car, the macro structure of the fish was inspired for a car, but yet the fish is still moving through water more efficient than the car does. And perhaps the technicians or the Germans should try to take a smaller look at fish, because fish is covered in scales. And I'm wondering if it has something to do, especially looking at the shark skin suit, if this might improve the efficiency of the car even more, instead of just painting it, well, kind of scratching it on a really small scale. The bird is hydrophobic. Yeah, you're right. But that would be a bit of a cheat, because I already said that, and not really. But I'll click on it, because I see the question, the mosquito one is already answered correctly. The bird has another great feature. The color blue doesn't exist in any animal. So not even the blue jay, the parrots, whatever. It's all structural color. It's a neat reflection of light, kind of mirroring. And we can do that with lasers on certain materials already. For instance, a stainless steel. And you see me holding up a keychain that we every now and then hand out as a gift. And yeah, it works with kind of reflection of light, and that's how we can basically paint without using paints. And as I said, I already saw the nano acupuncture answer for the mosquito. Yeah, this is a really zoomed in version of the thing that actually stings you, the proboscis, I believe it's called. And the funny thing is, we try to make needles as smooth and as silky as possible to penetrate your skin and to enter blood vessel. And if you look at the snout of this mosquito, then you see it's not smooth at all. And yet it somehow can sting you during the day, when you're awake, when you're asleep, without you noticing it, and even sucking out blood. And well, we've all had a couple of shots somewhere during our lifetime, or having given blood. So how cool would it be if you can make needles in hospitals that can, well, basically sting you without you feeling it? So that was the interaction part for macro, micro, nano. I hope you at least get a kind of sense to the scale, to the microscopic or beyond microscopic scale I'm working with, or trying to grasp these structures and trying to recreate them with lasers. Small recap, because everything is, well, connected, as said. You've got the macro structure, the butterfly, I believe it's called in English the peacock butterfly. You've got the micro structures for the microscope, and you've got the nanostructures, and you see that, well, even a simple butterfly has scales on its wings. It's kind of mosaic, and these scales are in a pattern for a certain reason, and they have a certain shape for a reason, and there are ridges on it, and here are even ridges beyond the ridges, and if you look real carefully, you'll see even small hooks that makes it bacteria repellent. And this is what I can do with lasers. At least I'm trying to not really replicate. As said, it's trying to be inspired by nature, not really trying to be, it's biomimicry, not bio-copy-paste after all. And yeah, the structure on the right was the first structure trying to replicate something that was on the left. And I'll show you in a picture, one or two slides after this one, where it ended up, because in the end I wanted to reach, well, around here. But I made these and this one to scale. So for that, of course, you need a laser to replicate the structures on the right. But you'll see that this picture on scale are these small, really small structures. So it's still very, very difficult. Anyway, as said, I had already some couple of tests and experiments with those lasers, and there are a few, well, things I achieved. Yeah, made it work. And I said my whole journey in biomimicry started with the heaviest feathers, and I wanted to find the hydrophobic and hydrophilic, so water repelling and water attracting. Philic is to love, phobic is to fear. And it all started, to quote Bob Ross, with a happy little accident, because there are no mistakes. And the first thing was a piece of aluminium. You saw already the macrostructure, or no, not the macrostructure, the microscope picture of it, the previous sheet. And it was raining when I ran from the car towards my front door, and I had a laptop with me and a piece of, well, laser engraved with a certain setting. And I wanted to protect the laptop from getting wet, and I noticed this. There was a droplet falling on there. Oh. Over there, and you see that it starts to spread out, and yeah, I can see if I can speed it a bit up, but you see it just keeps on going and keeps on going for, well, over a minute. And it all started with one small drop, and I thought, well, that is kind of cool. It's really attracting water. Water wants to spread all over it. So yeah, what I did was the next thing: more water. Let's see where the limits are. If it can attract water from one side towards the engraving part, and you see here the engraving, and I'm putting water next to it. This is in my kitchen. pouring water next to it. It's just aluminium, and you just see it's getting sucked up, and it really stays within the boundaries of the engraved part. Which, kind of cool. It worked, but it's still dry over here. So, yeah, I was kind of curious, how far can we push this? So, next one, more water. More water. Let's see where we can. And with the amount of water, and I'll speed things up. It can be kind of tedious to see water walk. But you'll see it still goes and it still goes and it still is getting sucked up. It feels the connection over here a bit, but still, although it's very, very saturated, you still see water being attracted.
Edwin?
Yeah?
A quick question. What am I looking at? If you see what you say, is it an engraved area or what is it?
Yeah, the dark piece is an engraved piece of aluminium or aluminum with a certain nanostructure that was inspired from hairs.
Yeah.
Or I tried to find hairs, either feathers, one or two.
Okay.
And this appears a hair-like nanostructure, so it's really water attracting and trying to hold on water.
So the big area where the water is going through, you have engraved that aluminum part with the laser with the nanostructures.
Yes, correctly. And the rest around it, the silvery part, is just blank aluminium as you would buy it in the shop.
Okay, and also the very dark one below, that's cut out, eh? I'm looking at perhaps your table top or something.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. In this case, the kitchen sink. You'll see it a bit more clearly in this one, because here are the holes again. I dried it. Wait, I need to find my laser pointer. The holes are over here. That's what you saw. Because, well, attracting water on a horizontal plane is not really easy, but I thought, well, how can I make it more difficult to see how really water attracting is this nanostructure that I created on aluminium. And I thought, well, gravity is the next challenge. So I dried up after a day or something on the heater, and placed it vertically in a bucket with the ruler next to it. This is a bit sped up. It is a time lapse because it's kind of slow. But I'll press play and I'll let you show it. And you'll see that the dark part is wet and the light part is still dry. And you see water rising up to around 10 to 12 centimeters above water level, which is amazing in my mind. But also a bit the wrong setting, because I didn't want water attracting. I wanted to have water repellent on my shower drain, not water attracting. I want less hairs in it, so not more. So all right, this is kind of cool and still not what I wanted. So I thought, well, let's try. Yeah, go ahead.
But I think Andrew has a question.
Hey, Edwin. I was just watching that. It's amazing to see how it transports the water and sucks it in. Do you know how, is this similar to capillary action, or is it completely different?
That is a question. Good question though. But it's a question I already had a couple of times, and the discussion is still ongoing. So if you want to pitch in, absolutely be my guest. But the consensus for now is that they're kind of similar. Capillary working or hydrophilic is kind of two words of a bit of the same principle. I don't want to stroke against any feathers or hairs from any real physicists. But feel free to chime in. The last word hasn't been said about it, what it now actually is, if it's capillary working like a straw, or that it is actually hydrophilic.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I tend to think of capillary action as completely enclosed, where you're using the internal surface area of a cylinder. But without seeing this exact structure, I would guess it's more like it's open on one side, unless the structures overlap in some way to create an enclosure. I'm just really fascinated by that.
Yeah. Now, it's definitely not an enclosure because the laser needs a line of sight, so it can only engrave from one side, and well, basically the top is open. But yeah, thanks for the question. I believe that answers it, right?
I have a question too.
Go ahead.
You're showing this example with water. Is
Yeah.
there other liquids you can use the same nanostructure for?
Yeah.
We know that human hair is very good at, attracting fossil fuels and oil when you have oil spills. Will it work with oil? Will it work with other liquids, or is it just water?
I still need to try it, but basically water is a liquid, and other liquids and even air are also liquids, just different viscosity. So I might need to alter the structure a bit. But yeah, it could be that one structure is attracting oil and phobic to water, which would be great for engines or for what's it called, the bearings, things like that. So yeah, that's something I still need to try. But yeah, I've got the structures over here, so perhaps later on today or tomorrow I'll pour some oil on top of it and let's see what happens. Would be kind of cool. Yeah, inspiration. As said, we're learning together. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, there's Michelle has her hand raised as well.
Hi. This does remind me of the hydrophilic structures in the human biology or physiology. I was just wondering, can it also be used for blood absorption, like in surgical towels?
We should try it. I haven't tried blood because although 5 liters of it, it's kind of harsh to cut myself and to pour blood on top of it. But yeah, I'll write it down because it's great. Do you have any experience or with it, or it's just a thought?
No, it's just a thought.
I'll see what the. Right. Thank you very much. Keep them coming. If there are no more questions, then I'll get back to my shower drain. Because, hydrophilic is kind of cool, but I was searching for hydrophobic. So, yeah, not really switched the settings around, but searched for it, and I'll pause it for a brief second. What you see here is stainless steel in this case. Again, the cuts, the cut, there is something cut. These squares are engraved by a certain laser setting. I had several attempts, as you can see in the background, but this one worked the best, by far the best. It's in a 45-degree angle, so if it's really hydrophobic, really repelling water, at least the water has somewhere to go instead of just gravity forcing it down once more. I must admit this is done with the slow motion function of the camera because, you'll see why. First droplet is going to be placed on next to the engraved part. I did it on purpose just to show you that there's no trickery, no nothing, no after effects from Adobe or whatever. The first drop just sprush, and the second one doink, and it bounces right off. Do it. No trickery, and this is really extremely hydrophobic. Which, well, awesome. So, then I got a lot of questions, because this is around a year old, and I got a lot of questions from people with boats. When can I put this on my boat? I always ask the question in return, why? Yeah, then it goes more efficiently through the water. there is no fish that is hydrophobic. They're all hydrophilic. They all attract water. And if hydrophilics or water repellent was really more efficient for water animals, there would be at least a fish water repellent. So, but hey, of course I can give it a try, because there are surfaces on the boat that needs to be dry, especially the inside or the top decks against slip or something, losing your grip. And in the very first one of the very first sheets, I said I believe that the structure is leading for those neat features, not really the building material. So I thought, well, let's use the same setting, same laser as with the stainless steel, but then on a boat. Welcome to my kitchen, by the way. I'm now telling to the person, the owner of the boat, what I'm just telling you now. I'll skip forward and I'll just put it under the sink. Again, just a square with a laser setting. I'll get my laser pointer with it. Few squares, different settings, and just gave it a go. These were the best 3, and I'll put them under the water tap. And I'll let you be the judge of what is happening. I can speed it up a bit. There we go. And as said, same setting as with the stainless steel. And you see that it's really repelling water. You see that it is just painted by hand. So there's a really rough structure. So this is basically a nanostructure on top of a macrostructure. And the macrostructure doesn't do anything. It's just random. But the nanostructure, yeah. Kind of like the butterfly, there is every structure, every level of structuring has a purpose and has a function. And you see that the paint is really attracting the water, and the other parts, all right, this is getting kind of wet, but the other parts remain, well, fairly dry. And the bottom one especially, you see it's still, I almost can't destroy it with even placing it under the tap itself. So that was my...
Edwin?
Yay,
I have
go ahead.
some specialist questions here in the chat.
Go ahead.
On the hydrophilic one, from Lucia, which power of the laser has been used to create the nanostructures? I think it's for the hydrophilic and the hydrophobic. I'm not a specialist of lasers, so please take it.
I used the 60 watts for the hydrophilic, and I used the 10 watts for the hydrophobic. But the 10 watts was a UV laser, and the hydrophilic was a standard fiber laser. And I hope that answers your question. If you want to know how much power the lasers consume, that would be around 450 watts if I put it to 100%, and that is around half or 1/3 of a coffee machine, something like that. So not really that much.
There's more comments here. As Mark is saying, I have lots of experience with blood and surfaces. It's definitely worth testing in its hydrophilic form. So
good.
Please
contact me, drop me an email. Yeah, absolutely. Let's test this.
Also, Michele was saying it could be applied to a car windshield, kind of like.
Yeah, I've been scratching my head over it. The hydrophobic structure at this point, it blocks visibility, but I know that there are structures that should be able somewhat to do it on glass, but glass is really a difficult material for a laser because it's a natural thing. It's not really uniformal, and if you have a somewhat different procedure of building the windscreen, different sorts of silica or whatever, different sorts of glass, different contaminations, then that can already affect the laser and its effect, and that makes it kind of difficult. There are some ideas, perhaps also with the feather structures of penguins as a de-icing, but also the eyes of a mosquito, because they're anti-fog. So that would be something for the inside. So yeah,
and maybe you can also look at a lotus flower, how that works in
Yeah.
terms of structures, because it's self-cleaning.
Correct.
So it also has perhaps some structures at the surface.
Correct. But for now, as far as I've experienced it, it always limits the visibility out of the windshield, and that is the main first thing. So unless I get a thing or an idea for that, we might need to stick with foils.
I am so getting inspired by you right now, and in terms of laser marking, that it's unbelievable.
All right. Well, I'm not even finished, because this was just hydrophilic and hydrophobic, and I already said there are also structural colors, and I already showed the bird, but the bird has been in the wrong order. We are testing things, and I know work has been done in the field to use structural colors within glass. So there is almost a holographic image within the glass, and if you do it correct, then you'll get a color. But as said, glass is really sensitive also for temperature differences and pressures, so it can be quite costly in terms of exploding bottles or exploding whatever, and glass shards all over the place. But progress is being made also with plastics, transparent plastics, but this is really, really experimental. But yeah, what we already can do is on the right. It's on stainless steel, on titanium and neodymium, and that is what you could purchase it today, and that should already save, hopefully, a lot of ink, a lot of paint, and yeah, it's biomimicry. So my future dreams are already getting inspired by the oils and the blood absorptions and everything. Apologies. One thing I hope to achieve and already tested a bit is anti-fouling. It's put on boats, it's kind of toxic. It prevents algae from attaching and therefore mollusks from attaching. And already did a test with it in the sea, in the ocean, 2 different settings, and one was a bit lighter, one was a bit darker. It's been done on plastics, and just to see what's happening and if there is a difference between the non-lasered and the lasered structure. There is a structure. This is non-structural, and this has a different structure. And I believe after a month, we pulled them out of the water, and we saw, in fact, a difference. This has been cleaned to identify which setting I used and which one of the 2 it was. But you see that there aren't as much of the slimy blobs that are on the side. So this structure is more attractive for mollusks, and not so attracting to algae. So at least there is something happening there. And well, I need to find someone who is eager to test this out and have 100 of these plates or something in the ocean for a month and see what happens. But at least I can prove something is happening. Now we have to tweak it to, basically to the right way. The other thing I tested was inspired of the cicade wing. A cicade is a grasshopper before it swarms. Kind of strange for the same animal to have different names, but anyway, if you look at those wings, you'll see that it's all those little spikes in a 3D image. You can see it quite well, and this is bacteria killing, and this is a nice, kind of animated video of what is happening, and all those little spikes are good enough to blunt enough to not pierce the bacteria straight away, but they are sharp enough that it doesn't really support the bacteria, and you see that the bacteria just slides over all of those little spikes. And we'll zoom in a bit, and you'll see that the bacteria surface or the cell wall, well, is stretching, reaching its outer limits, and just breaks open. And it, by this way, it kills the bacteria. And you'll see that it loses its insides and just flattens out. And basically, as said in the introduction, kind of a bacteria shish kebab. It's just dead. It's gone. And I thought, oh, if I could recreate this, this would be amazing. So I reached out to a professor and see if we can, well, try to make something. He really amped up his electron microscope. And you'll see, if you really look closely, you see a lot of tiny spikes. It almost looks like, well, it looks fluffy. But this is pure metal, so it's just as fluffy as a cactus. And those are very, very sharp needles and spikes. And you see, the funny thing is, it's really hydrophobic. This is a droplet of water placed on top of it on the horizontal plane. And you see, it's almost like a football laying on top of it. And we found that this structure was around 85% confidence. Of course, scientists looking out for the 95% confidence, because then something is true. But we had an 85% confidence that this structure actually kills bacteria. And it was as well on stainless steel as on titanium, which is kind of, well, it's amazing. If you can make this onto an implant or a pacemaker, or you need a lot less antibiotics, or engrave this on the door handles from a hospital, or engrave it on the buttons from an elevator, because those things are really, 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 really dirty. And then you have something that kills bacteria right away, a lot less spreading of diseases. So those are my future dreams, and who knows, one day we'll get there. But progress is being made.
I have to add one dream to you.
Go ahead.
Also from Micheli. Can we change the light wavelength with layers prior to absorption in solar panels to convert all the light to the wavelength that can currently be absorbed?
Changing the wavelength light is difficult, I guess. I'm not sure how that would do, because you need to absorb light and then reflect it or send it out again. That is all often chemically based. But yeah, you could use these structures to absorb more light or different wavelengths of light, or try to reflect them and capture it some way, in a way a reflector does, and steer it towards a part of the solar cell that you want to shine or let capture light. You could also use it for instance, the hydrophilic. If you really attract a lot of water, it's a great coolant. And I know solar panels have some difficulties with the heat and the extreme heat. If you can create, like for instance, a lung-like structure with a really lot of surface packed on a small surface, then you can perhaps increase the cooling capacity of the solar panel, or the back of the solar panel, and perhaps in that way improve its efficiency.
Pretty cool.
All right. Final part, I believe, is there no more questions? If there are no more questions. It's not really bloopers. I called it bloopers, but I think I'm doing it short to these scientists. They looked at biomimicry from a different angle, perhaps more on the macro structure than on something else, or just forgot about the rest. One of the bloopers is Robot. I'll start the video because it's kind of cool. They made a robotic bird. I believe it's a falcon. And they use this to chase away geese at airports. And it's remote controlled. It can stay in the air for around 15 minutes. And then it runs out of batteries. And, well, they really want to make it more efficient and see if they can improve the flight time. Because, well, normal birds, they can fly a lot longer than 15 minutes. And they have less energy needed for that. Yeah, is there time to ask the chat to give answer what they could improve, or because after this there's just one more example.
First thing, Lucia is raising her hand. Her hand. I think her hand.
Yeah, thank you. Can I ask it?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Okay, amazing. I was wondering about your experiments on hydrophobic and hydrophilic surfaces. Did you use any special mask or photolithographic techniques, or just a laser on a plain surface? I mean, I don't know if the question is clear. Did you just bombarded the surface with a laser without any coating before or similar?
Yeah, just plain aluminium and plain stainless steel that you can purchase from any hardware store that you like. I'm kind of pragmatic about it. If I need a special mask or a ferrochemical solution, something to apply these structures, then things become more difficult and less easy to adopt. And
So you obtained the two results you obtained. They are just random. I mean, you just changed the laser power, and according to the different power, you are obtaining different results.
yeah,
Wow.
and it's just basically I took some trash out of the trash can and just placed it under the laser. And if it works with the most basic material out there, then it also should work with the high-tech materials.
Cool.
So
And,
just
quick question, yeah, sorry. For the hydrophobic material, which kind of material did you use? I mean, was wooden?
for the hydrophobic, I use stainless steel and I use the anti-fouling from a boat.
Okay.
So paint.
Wow. Okay, and did you do the same also for the colors? Or for the colors is necessary to have something more ordered?
The colors, I only did it for stainless steel, titanium, and neodymium, but I can't do that on paint yet.
Cool. Wow, thank you.
You're welcome. Micheline.
More questions, yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you did you call me Michelle? Well, anyways, I had a question. Can you actually use the lasers to produce ultraviolet light? Because I was wondering if you could actually put it on the turbines, the wind turbines, to sort of since ultraviolet light is visible to birds, it might repel birds from the turbines.
Yeah, but our ultraviolet laser will cut the bird in half or make it blind within a second. So yeah, there are solutions out there that I know with a green laser pointer trying to scare away birds. Yeah, but our laser is too powerful for that. You kind of need a laser pointer. But it is a good suggestion. We might need to talk with that after this presentation, because different kind of lasers, different kind of fields, different kind of what you want to do. My lasers are cutting those birds in half, and this is not really, I believe, the solution. Then it's either death by windmill or death by laser.
Yeah, I was thinking more like of actually imprinting on the wind turbines themselves and changing, like just how you could make blue in a surface without paint. So just sort of make a surface that would shine ultraviolet light.
Oh, in that way, yeah. To my knowledge, I've looked into that a bit, and then we'll save the conversation for next time. The whole problem with the windmills and the birds is that the turbine is coming from above, in such a speed, in such a manner. Normal birds attack either from behind and then they're dead, but most of the birds see this from the side or downwards, and they don't tend to look up because they don't need to.
Right.
So, but sticking with birds, did you spot the thing in the clip? What could be improved? I don't think I saw any answers in the chat, did I?
I didn't understand there was a question. Sorry.
Okay. Well, basically, what could they improve on this bird? What did they do wrong or could do better?
Well, their
Reducing
feathers
drag.
are not feathers, right?
Yep, it's in the very first. Oh, go away. There it is. It's in the second of the video. They mimic the color of the bird, and they even try to make it, well, kind of feathery-like. The outlines are there, but this doesn't look like a feather. This is what a feather should look like, and what it looks like, with the big ridges and the small ridges, and you see even the curvature over here. And if they could imprint, well, this structure with a laser on top of this, it might improve flight instead of just painting it like a feather and make it an actual, well, also a 3D feather. Last learning moment, and just to show you that even the brightest minds on Earth can make mistakes, or perhaps making mistakes. You should question almost everyone. Is Harvard. And don't get me wrong, I hold these. They are the brightest minds on the globe, to my opinion. The text at the bottom says Professor George Lauder has found that the rough surface of shark skin helps reduce drag and increase thrust as the animal swims. Interestingly, the research also tested the high-tech swimsuit and found their surface, supposedly designed to mimic shark skins, has no effect on swimming speed. Quote, "I'm convinced they work, but it's not because of the surface," he said to the swimsuits. And you'll see the suit over here, and you see all the, well, scales over there, and you see a shark at the background. This is the professor, by the way. But if you look closely, these scales, I don't see them in the shark. Kind of big. All right. That's what I thought too. So they thought, well, let's make them smaller. It still didn't work. And the answer is, well, kind of funny. First of all, it depends on where on the shark are we actually looking. Because different regions of the shark have different functions. Because they have different functions, propelling, steering, or at least buoyancy, or just protection from the side, they have different layout of scales and different shape of scales. These are almost round, caudal fin, so that's just at the back. These are kind of squared, and this is on the caudal fin, and these even have kind of teeth. But they also are all tile-wise, left to right, interchanging, and these are all in a perfectly straight, well, yeah, next to each other and behind each other. And in fact, we can even see it on the swimsuit. They're all perfectly aligned. And if you look back to the shark, it looks like a giant ordered mess. Nothing is straight in nature. So, to recap, perhaps this shark skin suit would work if they added some randomness and at least made it tile-wise, so that it interlapped or overlapped a bit. So, that was the presentation. I hope you learned something or at least got inspired. I hope I, showed you the tools for what to look out there and how to observe and to ask more questions, even about the simplest things as ants in a traffic jam. And if you found something, let me know. And if you have some questions and can't find the answer, let me know. Reach out to me, and I'll be happy to, guess along with you, because that makes me think as well. And as you noticed, even the strangest ideas, even if it might seem strange, just ask. And who knows how we can inspire each other and achieve the next breakthrough. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Edwin. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. And thanks to everyone for the questions. You still have more questions. We have couple more minutes for questions before we introduce the speaker for next month. So please go for it now or be silent forever. No, reach out on LinkedIn to Ed. But I think there's a couple of very interesting potential path to move forward with different solutions. So I really like that. I see Lydia just typed something in here. Lydia, do you want to unmute yourself and just tell us what you were thinking?
Yeah, I was thinking the idea with the UV light on the windmills was really interesting. And I found some tape that birds are able to see the reflecting UV light. So maybe that's an idea for the wind turbines. So very inspiring to have all your questions and the talk. Thanks, Edwin.
Well, thank you too, and thanks for helping me answer this difficult question I not really could answer.
Well, you did a good job, I guess. So
Cheers.
All right, so thank you very much for all your questions. Let me just thank everyone here. Thanks for your questions.
Oh, I see a hand raising.
Can I just
Yeah, sure.
and then get back to your question? Thanks to all the organizer, Bruno and Venetia behind the scenes at Biomimicry Switzerland. Of course, thanks Edwin. And thanks for everyone for your interest. We'll take your question just, Susanna, when we're done.
Yeah.
I wanted to introduce quickly our next speaker before people drop out. So next month, Silvia Mirandola will tell us about her projects and methods for fostering innovation and leadership. Why don't you unmute yourself, Silvia, and give us a 20-second pitch for next month's webinar, please.
Thank you very much, Michaela. Hello, everybody. My name is Silvia. I'm from Italy, and I'm very excited to be the next speaker in this series of webinar. And I wait for you. I'm going to speak about the use of biomimicry to inspire leadership and teamwork. So see you there.
So it's on May 18th, same time, 18 CET, and we will be all around the African savannah. Looking forward to that. Thanks very much, Sylvia, and see you next month. And let's get back to Susanna with her question, since we have a few minutes left. Thanks, Sylvia.
Hello, everyone. Edwin, for you, what animal has not yet been investigated for its texture?
Ooh, that is a difficult question because I'm not really up to speed who has investigated what. What I'm kind of curious about is how, well, materials interact. For instance, bumblebees with pollen would be really interesting to see. Which animals hasn't been yet? That it's the de-icing of the penguins. I would love to find a good image of it and see if I can replicate it. I believe that the animals that really still hold a lot of secrets are the animals that we haven't really discovered yet, either in the rainforest or in the deep seas. I truly believe that within the deep seas there are a lot of hidden things, secrets out there that still, well, we know more of the surface of Mars than we know of our own sea. So it's kind of there's still a lot of to be learned.
And thanks for your attention.
Thank you for questioning.
I have a question, Edwin.
Go ahead.
What would you need now to further your investigations on your pet project, on the anti-fouling and on the antibacterial? Do you need collaborations? Do you need money? Do you need exposure? Do you need, what do you need exactly?
The first tries with anti-fouling and antibacterial I did for free. I, of course, would welcome any funding to set up a proper experiment with that, perhaps with the university also to get the imaging samples, because those SEM pictures aren't free either. What I would first and foremost need is a partner who can bring in the experience from his side, from either the bacteria side or the anti-fouling side, and a test setup. And for me personally, that would be a goal. So we have, I need to reach 90% death or something, or it needs to be clear for 2 weeks. And then, well, we need to make around 100 samples or something and just fire away and see what sticks. And therefore, from there, iterate a couple of times. And I'm quite sure that we'll find at least something interesting. And perhaps not really then applicable for an entire cargo ship or cargo vessel, but perhaps just for the rudder, or perhaps just for the propeller, or for somewhere else. Perhaps anti-fouling for within the water tanks, the bulk tanks in cargoes. I don't know, because then it is kind of investment benefits, and that is just calculating and pluses and minuses, and then see what has ended up in positive numbers or negative numbers. But yeah, I need basically I need a partner and a goal.
Could this be of interest for like a fish farm that has, you know, kind of floating surfaces that also need anti-fouling? Or I don't know how that works, but I was just thinking of someone that has a very big shrimp farm where you could like put your samples on. I don't know.
Yeah, could be, but shrimp are actually kind of amazing algae eaters, and they can clean out things. But yeah, of course, we could always give it a try, at least see what's happening, even if the shrimp are attracted by it. Perhaps it helps, because if it attracts algae and shrimp eat algae, then there's your feeding place. Fun thing about, by the way, with fish and lasers, the Norwegians are shooting with lasers on salmon. There are parasites in their skin, and the laser detects it and then shoots at the pest, what was
bacteria, right?
No, not the antibacteria, but for instance, a worm or some thing that is in the skin. And then they fire a laser at that spot, and the salmon is cured.
It's really amazing.
It's insane. It's like real life Star Wars.
Really cool. Vinisha, do you want to unmask yourself and tell me if there's anything that you've seen in the chat that I've overlooked? And
no, Michaela, you've covered all of it, so it's all good.
So excellent. So I think we'll wrap up here. Thanks everyone for your attention. There's lots of contact information in the chat. We will save the chat as well, of course. Please reach out to Edwin, to Biomimic for Switzerland, also on LinkedIn, on social media. Become a member, donate, you know, all that good stuff. And see you next month. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.